Look at the video of the desperate, freaked out person. Eduardo Bolsonaro, pay attention.
I want us to have a political strategy. Because otherwise, we're going to run into the same problem. I'll give you a more extreme example so you can understand what I'm talking about. Imagine during World War II, Churchill, Roosevelt, Charles de Gaulle.
Hey, wait a minute, but hey, it seemed like he was crying, or is that just my impression? Did you guys see that? Didn't you guys see it? At the beginning of his video, it looks like he was crying. Let's see here. Let's play it again. I'll make it bigger so you can see at the start. I think he was crying. Do you feel sorry for him? Take him to your house. Pay attention.
I want us to have a political strategy. Otherwise, we'll have the same problem. Let me give you a more extreme example to explain. Imagine during World War II.
I think he was. And if he cried in secret. Look at his red nose. This and that, I think he's crying, freaking out, crying, and desperate. But let's let him talk. Go ahead, speak.
World War II. Churchill, Roosevelt, Charles de Gaulle in exile. They're forming an alliance with Stalin, the guy who runs the Gulag, a genocidal leader, to defeat Hitler. If it were today, Hitler would take over the world. But Eduardo would. Because the squeaky clean right wouldn't make an alliance with Stalin, and Hitler would thank them, he would say, "Thank you very much." Because it was a coalition of forces that managed to win World War II. So this is what I mean, the political strategy. It's not about defending Flávio at all costs. It's about understanding who we're up against. I want us to have a strategy.
Did you understand what he said, dear? You didn't, did you? I'll explain. He is desperately asking for support for Flávio Bolsonaro. Why, Andrea? Because the right has fulfilled this support. Não quer mais Flávio Bolsonaro. And the center doesn't want Flávio Bolsonaro anymore either. So he's begging them, for God's sake, to form an alliance, a big one, a huge conglomerate of forces to support Flávio Bolsonaro to take down Lula. That's what he's saying in this video, almost crying if he wasn't already crying before. That's what he's saying. But like he's really desperate. What is it? Because like nothing has even been released yet. No. No, dear. That audio is just the beginning. Yes. And if, to start with, Flávio Bolsonaro is already being sidelined. He's already being pushed aside. Imagine when the video of Flávio comes out at Daniel Vorcaro's house. Doing what, Andrea? I don't know. Did he go there to ask for more money? No. Was that it, asking for money? No, that wasn't it. Do you want to know what theory they're talking about in the back rooms of politics? Do you want to? I'll tell you. He went there to ask for protection for Daniel Vorcaro, so that Daniel Vorcaro wouldn't turn him into the police. Why is this being said in the halls of Brasilia? Because when the senator went to Vorcaro's house, he met with him. Vorcaro had already been arrested in the scheme, and he was released with an electronic ankle monitor. And things were already getting out of hand anyway. Even so, Senator Flávio Bolsonaro went to his house to meet with him. So what's being talked about in the halls of Brasilia and the National Congress is that Flávio Bolsonaro went to ask for protection so that he wouldn't turn in Flávio Bolsonaro. In exchange, Flávio was going to work behind the scenes to do everything possible to make it harder for Daniel Vorcaro to be convicted and arrested. But it didn't work because Daniel Vorcaro is in jail. And not just him. Several others are in jail. 21 people are already in jail in connection with this criminal organization tied to Daniel Vorcaro's Banco Master. Among them are Daniel Vorcaro, his father Henrique Vorcaro, and his cousin. In fact, this cousin's case is before the Supreme Court. The second panel is deciding whether to keep the cousin in custody. And Andre Mendonça has just released his vote, and he said he is in favor of keeping Daniel Vorcaro's cousin in prison. Everyone is involved. So that's the talk going around in the corridors of Brasilia. That he went to the meeting desperate with Daniel Vorcaro, begging, for God's sake, I can help you. But only if I come out clean in this story. So don't put my name in it. In fact, there's a conversation going around in the halls of the federal police and the office of the Prosecutor General of the Republic. It's that Daniel Vorcaro's cooperation deal wasn't accepted precisely because he didn't mention Flávio Bolsonaro's name. He didn't mention the meetings nor the millions he gave to Flávio Bolsonaro. Through the company, the legal entity whose representative is Eduardo Bolsonaro's lawyer over in the United States. And he is very likely shielding members of the Bolsonaro family, especially Flávio Bolsonaro. That's why his cooperation agreement wasn't accepted. And he got out of prison, beep, and went to a regular cell. And now he even asked to go to Papudinha. It's Papudinha, that small apartment where Bolsonaro stayed. He asked to go to Papudinha. I don't think he will, no? No, Andre, he won't. The federal police are against it, and I don't think the prosecutor general will support it. Also, for security reasons, whether he likes it or not, he'll be safer in the cell where he is now than he would be at Papudinha, in the small apartment where Bolsonaro stayed. Do you understand, my dear? So they're freaking out because only Flávio Bolsonaro's audio was released. And the right is distancing itself from Flávio Bolsonaro, and the center is abandoning Flávio Bolsonaro. The big example I gave you was during the 8:30 live stream, where that parliamentary amendment that had 176 signatures to set a 52-hour work week instead of ending the 6-by-1 schedule, the center is already withdrawing all the signatures, and there is already an agreement among the leaders saying they will remove them all, and that they will leave the Bolsonarists, the Liberal Party, and some from Novo, Bolsonarists, gunfire, chaos, and explosions alone to try to push through this amendment that actually harms workers instead of helping them. That's the situation. This is already an example that they are backing out and leaving the Bolsonarists high and dry. That's the situation. That's why there's this desperate video from Eduardo Bolsonaro where they're losing support from the right and also from the center in Brazil. And this is just the beginning, because only the audio has come out so far. And another crazy person. No, before moving on to the other crazy person, comment, Eduardo Bolsonaro. He's freaking out. Why is that? We can't help but say it, can we? His case is in its final stage. It's at the closing argument stage. Soon, if you think about it, next week, maybe the week after, or early June, it's going to be just like I told you, right? At the end of June, there will be the final trial session for Eduardo Bolsonaro, where he will be convicted for the course of He will be convicted for the crime of coercion in the course of legal proceedings, combined with Article 71 of the Penal Code, which is treated as a continuing offense, where he will get about 9 years, a little less than 9 years in prison. The initial regime for serving the sentence is closed, and soon his arrest will be ordered, and he will be considered a fugitive in the United States, Eduardo Bolsonaro. He seems to have the money to go to another country and escape to another place, right? Because Flávio Bolsonaro said that the money he charged and received from Daniel Vorcaro, more than 60 million was sent to a fund in the United States, and Flávio Bolsonaro's lawyer is responsible. Obviously, it couldn't be Eduardo Bolsonaro, otherwise it would be too obvious, right? So I'll use my lawyer to be, the owner. He has money, but what will he do with his life? We already know what Eduardo Bolsonaro's problem is. He's practically a fugitive in the United States now. By the end of June, he'll be sentenced to almost 9 years in prison. The situation we need to be alert about now is especially regarding Flávio Bolsonaro. Flávio Bolsonaro, the coward, just like his father, just like his brother, and things are getting tough for him. And I believe, and it's not just video footage of his meeting with Vorcaro either. I believe there are more videos because he met with Daniel Vorcaro more than once, and that's not me. I'm not the one saying that. He himself, Flávio Bolsonaro, said that a video of one of his meetings with Daniel Vorcaro is going to leak. He said it just like that. So that means there were other meetings. So everything will fall apart. And what about the other crazy one? Who's the other crazy one? Exactly, Henrique Vorcaro. Henrique Vorcaro, Daniel Vorcaro's father, went to jail there in Minas Gerais. He was arrested. And they said he freaked out inside the jail, wanting to get out, saying he was crazy. He had a breakdown in there. Then I think they brought the Sosega Leão in. Have you ever seen the Sosega Leão in prison? No? You don't want to see it. Because it's not pretty, no. I know he had a breakdown inside the jail. Shall we see the second person who had a breakdown? Vorcaro's father has spent the last few days desperate and having a breakdown in prison. He now blames his son's lawyers for still being in jail. Henrique Vorcaro donated $1 million to the Novo Party in 2022, the year Zema won the election. No, there's also that, right? There's this situation too. It's really funny, isn't it, guys? These people donate so much money. Too much money, right? It's just too many millions, isn't it? He donated $2 million to Tarcísio de Freitas in 2022. The biggest donor to Tarcísio de Freitas' campaign, governor of São Paulo, a Bolsonaro supporter. He donated $1 million to Romo Zima's campaign, a Bolsonaro supporter, nothing but millions. He donated $3 million to Bolsonaro in Bolsonaro's election campaign. And he even made his jet worth more than $200 million available to whom? Look, such a friend of Nicolas Chupetinha. And Nicolas Chupetinha 1, 2, 3, 10 trips. He took 10 trips on the jet donated by Daniel Vorcaro. Oh, such good people, right? They only donate to the Bolsonaros. Funny. It's just like the house, right? The house that was bought over there in the United States, which I'll talk about in a bit. Another Bolsonaro supporter owns the house. My God. So that's the situation here. Look, Henrique Vorcaro had a breakdown in jail. Wants to get out of jail? Why does he want to get out of jail? He's not getting out. And the Federal Supreme Court, the court's second panel, is reviewing whether Daniel Vorcaro's cousin will remain in custody, not him, because he's staying in prison. And Andre Mendonça has already cast his vote and his report in favor of keeping Daniel Vorcaro's cousin in custody. Yeah, because this one is you. So like you can freak out however you want, guys. You're going to have to spill the beans. The cooperation agreement was not accepted by the federal police. And the prosecutor general, I've already told you this, will give Daniel Vorcaro one more chance to spill the beans. In fact, the prosecutor general wants more money too. At first, there was an agreement that he would return 40 billion reais from the damage he caused. The prosecutor general said no. It has to be at least 60 billion reais that he has to pay back. Let him sell, get it from the tax haven, collect it from the corrupt politicians, and give back part of that money because I have. Because if not, I will put yours on the line. If I go down, you go down too. That's it, guys. Let's see what happens, right? Let's see if this new cooperation statement from Daniel Vorcaro is going to be worth anything. If he doesn't tell the truth, it won't be worth anything. Because what happens? The federal police are already far along and already have a lot of evidence and many people implicated, right? For example, all signs point to Flávio Bolsonaro. And he has to spill the beans about this situation to confirm all of this. And then, besides that, he has to show how the scheme worked so that the federal police can go back and gather evidence of what he reports. Otherwise, it doesn't have any validity either. That's the situation that's happening there, and we can't forget. That's a lie. Where did you get that from? That was Flávio Bolsonaro's first lie regarding this whole situation. When the journalist from Intercept Brazil approached him and talked about the money for the film, he said, "That's a lie." And he gave a nervous laugh and walked away. Where did you get that? Then he walked away. Then, at the same time as all this, the audio of the senator came out, in which he said he didn't know Daniel Vorcaro, that he never had anything to do with Daniel Vorcaro, and that the Banco Master fraud was Lula's and the left's. Then suddenly it was discovered and leaked, an audio of him asking, well, not exactly asking. Demanding. Asking is one thing, demanding is another. He was demanding money from Daniel Vorcaro. That's when he went public then and said he had a contract worth 134 million reais for the movie. And that the movie would cost $24 million. That's why he had a contract worth 134 million reais just with Daniel Vorcaro. And that Daniel Vorcaro paid more than 60 million reais for the movie Andrea. It wasn't for Go Up, the production company of the movie O Dinero. It wasn't for Entre Entretenimentos, which was also responsible for the financial part of the movie. The money simply went to an account controlled by Eduardo Bolsonaro's lawyer in the United States. Then you ask me, but from there, did the money go to the movie, Andrea? That's what they don't answer. I want to know too, where did the money go? Now I showed you on the 8:30 live stream the video of the film's executive producer, Mario Frias, saying that the production didn't cost $24 million, but that it would cost around 12 to 14 million. Just Daniel Vorcaro basically has already paid that. And what about the other financiers of the movie? Because there were several other financiers of the movie, and that list of the movie's financiers could leak at any moment. Soon we'll find out that more than 200 million reais went to the movie. Thank you. Where did the money go, guys? Because the movie is ridiculous. Never? It would be worth all that. There's no high technology, no artificial intelligence, none of that, which is what the most expensive movies are based on. I ask you, where is that money and where did it go? Then they found out that they bought a house over in Texas. Where did the money go? This fund bought a house worth 3.6 million reais. That's the value in reais. Then the speculation started, right? Is it Eduardo Bolsonaro's? Is it the Bolsonaro families? And so on and so forth. Then the owner of the house shows up, Andre. Andre is the owner of the house. Andre is the former Secretary of Cultural Promotion under Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro, again, he's a front man. Let's be serious, guys. Who was he subordinate to? To Mario Frias, who at the time was Bolsonaro's Minister of Culture. He's one of those who is an executive producer. He said he bought and owns the house. But the money came from the fund. Where did Vorcaro's money go, which was supposed to be for the movie? He bought the house. Then he said the house is his, former Secretary of Bolsonaro. Then they checked his tax return, his. He declared assets and values of less than 170,000 reais. Where did he get the money to buy this house? If his financial capacity within a year in assets and values was 170, less than 170,000 reais, he couldn't even buy a studio apartment in the United States. He can't buy any property in the United States, not even a studio apartment. Where did the money come from? Flávio has to explain that. Eduardo Bolsonaro has to explain that. And they don't explain anything. They don't explain anything. They keep saying it's Lula. That it's Lulinha. That it's Lula who met with Vorcaro. Do you get it? They never explain. Now you can be sure that the federal police are looking into this whole situation, all this evidence. because it was found on one of Daniel Volcaro's cell phones, a direct connection between Flávio Bolsonaro and Vorcaro. And not just Flávio. This week, what also leaked was the audio from Mario Frias, a federal deputy and former minister under Bolsonaro and executive director of the film. In it, he also thanked Daniel Vorcaro for financially supporting the film. Even though Mario Frias had said there was no money in the film. And now the audio of him thanking Daniel Vorcaro for the money he put into the film has leaked. Does that make any sense? And the contract also leaked, a contract showing Eduardo Bolsonaro is also the film's executive in charge of finances. Oh my God, what does that mean, Andrea? It means that the guy, Paulo Carlisto, who owns the US fund and provided the money, is another straw man. First straw man, write it down so I don't forget. Who is the first straw man? Who did I just mention? It's Andrea, former Secretary of Culture under Bolsonaro. The first straw man is Andrea. The second straw man, Andrea, is the lawyer. Is it Carlos Carlisto or Paulo? I think it's Paulo Carlisto. Lawyer of Eduardo Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro, who is responsible for the fund that received more than 60 million, he is a straw man. To me, he is a straw man. To me, Bolsonaro's former secretary, Andre, is also a straw man. They're all straw men in the scheme. Why? Why do you call them straw men, Andrea? Why so many fronts? The scheme is huge. The scheme is very big. And I believe that this video, which will reveal the meeting of Eduardo, Flávio, and Bolsonaro, which they held at the mansion at Daniel Volcaro's house, is going to be a bombshell. It'll be a bombshell since he lied. Who lied? Flávio and Bolsonaro lied. I'll explain it to you. Flávio and Bolsonaro said they went there to meet with him to tell him, why didn't you say it was the scheme? If you had told me about the scheme, that you were stealing from retirees, from pensioners, that you were stealing from public servants, from the pension funds, from public servants, that you were involved in all this theft, I wouldn't have told you to invest in the movie. Let me tell you something here. You go to someone's house knowing that the person is a criminal, you go and still say that to her? You're going to curse her out over the phone, block her and say, I never want to hear your name again because I don't associate with criminals, and that's it. Now, how much do you want to bet? How much do you want to bet? Like my grandma and mom used to say, how much do you want to bet that in the video, when it leaks, his face will be there, all smiling at Daniel Vorcaro, holding hands, hugging, smiling, and all that, and so on, blah, blah, blah. If there's no audio, we can't really know what was said. And look, maybe there is a way. Maybe there is a way. By lip reading, but he'll be all smiles, all friendly, dad, blah, 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 blah. That's why I'm telling you, he's lying. And when we watch the video, we'll see that he's lying, that he'll be there all meek, humble, almost kissing boots and licking boots. Daniel Vorcaro's. That's why I say and repeat, with or without audio, it's going to be a bombshell. And he knows that. Flávio Bolsonaro knows that. About what he did last summer, about this whole situation, which to me is money laundering. And it won't be 100 million, it won't be 200 million, it won't be 300 million, it won't be 400 million, it's going to be more than 500 million reais. This is the first time I'm saying this here. You can write it down. You can hold me to it later. This scheme is meant to be more than 500 million reais. Why, Andre? Because there are a lot of companies involved that are there exactly to make it harder to track the money. Since it's a lot of money and there are a lot of straw men involved, then what is that for, Andrea? To give a destination to the assets? Pseudo-legal. Because it's just too much. This is a scheme worth over 500 million reais. where they used a large part of the movie's situation, and what we have is the ability to use legal entities and several front men for Daniel Vorcaro to inject the money. And from there, the money would be diverted to where it needed to go. Because it didn't go to the movie. This movie isn't worth that. Not even a third of what they're saying it's worth. That's what happened. And given the seriousness of this situation, the federal police need to open their eyes. The prosecutor general needs to take action and request measures, because I know action has already been taken and requests have already been made. The seizure of Senator Flávio Bolsonaro's passport has already been requested. A freeze on his assets has already been requested. It is necessary to put an electronic ankle monitor on Flávio Bolsonaro. The secrecy needs to be lifted. It's very likely that's already happening and we don't know. The police investigation is confidential, but it's necessary to seize his passport, put an electronic ankle monitor on him, and freeze his and his family's assets. Because this is not a joke, the situation is very serious, and soon he's going to run away, like Eduardo Bolsonaro did. Why, I'll say it again. Eduardo Bolsonaro will be convicted in June. In June, Eduardo Bolsonaro will be convicted and will already be a fugitive from justice. And Flávio Bolsonaro's situation in this scheme is very serious, because by all indications, they have millions of reais to bribe, coerce, and try to interfere with the investigations in any number of ways that could undermine the enforcement of criminal law. Besides the position of senator, whether he wants it or not, he has access to circles where he can get inside information that can shield him to some extent. So Andre Mendonça has to adopt these measures. It has already been requested, for example, by Congressman Raymond, Congressman Rogério Correa, and Congressman Lindenberg Farias. But Andre Mendonça can't let things slide. Otherwise, he'll be embarrassed. Andre, you mean Andre Mendonça, the Bolsonaro supporter? That gives him even more reason to act. Otherwise, it's going to look bad for him. He'll be the one embarrassed.